So, of course, you can put your hand up and say, yeah, I would like to do this, but you need to follow through. And that's where you get your reputation from, by having that level of integrity of going, yes, I'll put my hand up, I'll do something, but it's the follow through with that, which is really important.
Yes.
Even if you don't have all the answers, it's important that you approach that earnestly and, again, with authenticity, so that the people that you have given a commitment to know that they can rely on you to do things. That will build your reputation more than, I'll do this, but I'm just doing it for the limelight.
Yeah.
That'll also
Just
equally
doing it
erode.
to build my resume.
It'll equally erode that reputation that you may have started to build or are building over time. So, yes, I always rely on the accountability and the integrity thing as probably what the cornerstone.
Well, welcome to the pod, Charles
Thank you.
Hammersla. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. This is a great way to mix the day up a little bit and come and talk to you.
It is. It's a little bit of out of the norm. Get out of the office, the 9 to 5, into a nice little studio.
Yeah, beautiful space you've got here. Yeah, it's great.
It's a lovely space. Someone the other day asked me where I got the. This is not our space, but someone asked me where I got the little balloon animal puppy.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know.
Look at the bottom of it, maybe. Yeah.
we just come in, we just use the space, which is good. But,
no, that's great. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
You've had an amazing career trajectory in the facility space. Like,
thank you.
Watching you, you've built an incredible career, and you do some impressive work. Where did it all begin?
Oh, wow. So we could probably start right at the beginning if you like. I was originally destined, I thought, to become a lawyer.
Yeah.
And so I did high school, went into university and did a law degree. And I kind of had a path laid out for me to go into a retailer and start to practice law.
Yep.
But that didn't eventuate for a couple of reasons. But I ended up getting a job in compliance, still with the large retailer that I was working for in high school. So I originally kind of started in stores and
worked your way up.
Just continued to work there. And the way the cookie crumbled was I ended up in head office doing compliance work. From there, I got picked up by one of the other companies that was owned by that conglomerate at the time, and ended up doing building compliance. So it was a new role, and I had to move to Brisbane for that. And it saw me looking after things like asbestos, fire safety, anything to do with the buildings that were occupied by that retailer, to make sure everything was compliant and safe, and the contractors were all performing work on time. And so I really cut my teeth doing that. And I had a really fantastic mentor at the time as well, who'd been in the FM game, I think, for about 40 years at the time. So, yes, John McLennan, shout out to you for kind of taking me under your wing. And I kind of learnt FM and the basics from him and the rest of the team at the time. After that, he retired, and the retailer was good enough to give me that role, which was National FM at the time.
Fantastic.
Yes, and I was still quite young. Relatively, I was kind of 30 at the time. So going on that trajectory quite early, I was very fortunate to do that. And I moved back to Melbourne, back to where that retailer was based, and I ended up staying there for a few more years. All up with that retailer and that conglomerate, I stayed there 21 years, including that time in stores. Yeah, so I was a retailer for a while. And
I was about to say, I was trying to quickly do the maths, and when you said 21 years, I was like,
I'll write the number down.
There's no way you're 51.
No. They weren't employing children at the time.
Yes, right back from the start of the time with the
So just stuck with them. You can have a long career in businesses like that because there's lots of variety. By the end of that, I'd done things like procurement and looked after the refurbishment program, and been doing things like buying fixtures in China or lighting, and organising, putting checkouts in certain places in stores where people have a mixed opinion, for example. So as I kind of...
I hate the checkouts in the middle of the store.
I can't mention the retailer, but you probably guess it. But love them or hate them, yeah, they do quite well.
Yes.
But
I'm sure there's people stalking your LinkedIn right now, figuring it out.
Have a bit of a look, yeah. But I kind of had a moment kind of towards the end of my time at the retailer to go, what do I really want to do with my career? Because I'd had such a great long career with them, and I reflected on how much I had enjoyed FM for a lot of the time that I was there, for a few reasons. But I ended up deciding to leave, and I went to one of the large global property management companies, again based in Melbourne, and I helped to look after FM for one of the big four banks.
Yeah.
I did that for a few years, and then I've moved to another large global FM company looking after another of the big four. So
yes.
I've done half of them now. But yeah, I just really, over that time, realised how much I love the diversity of FM, no 2 days are the same. You could go in and be doing a finance issue in the morning, dealing with a flood in the afternoon, and then kind of a people issue in the evening, all in one day. And again, you have to kind of deal with surprise or have resilience. And I just really, really love that.
Yeah.
I hadn't found that in any of the other kind of roles that I'd done at the time. So yes, I'm glad that I had that moment of career reflection to really reflect on what I had liked in my career at the time. So that's kind of how I ended up where I am now.
I love that. And I think for FMs that are wanting to sort of build out their career, maybe they're starting out in the industry or there's someone like you who's fallen in love with it. I think something you said there really rang home with me was that you had your chance to move around a little bit, and you had experience in procurement, you had experience in the fit out side of things.
Yes.
So you'd learnt a lot. Do you think that's a huge part in being able to grow a career in FM, is being able to be a jack of all trades almost, and have your hand in lots of different pieces of the areas of day-to-day facility management?
I think there's part of that. You can't be an expert at everything. No. And I think a lot of people within the industry talk about that because, again, quite a few FMs that I know aren't technically trained. And so you have to be, I would say, curious is probably the most important thing. And in my career, I feel like I have been curious around understanding different aspects of a business, or putting my hand up and saying, yes, I'd like to see how that works, and do you need help as well? And by doing that, it kind of signaled to the leadership in different businesses that I was keen to get involved and help, and that naturally led to getting more exposure.
Yeah.
And so if anything, I'd probably encourage people or people who are interested in the industry, or people who are even practicing FMs to put your hand up and get exposure across different areas, because it only just adds to the richness of your experience, and you become a better FM, I think, by doing that as well.
But there's right and wrong ways to put your hand up.
Yes, yeah.
I've watched people, I've had people come to me really eager and wanting to be involved, and they're putting their hand up. But where do you reckon it? And now, as a leader who has people doing that, coming to you and expressing interest, where have you seen that play out really well, and they do it in the right way? And where have you seen maybe don't do it like this when you're trying to put your hand up for things?
I probably go to two things in that. One, do it authentically, have integrity about it as well, and have accountability.
Yeah.
So, of course, you can put your hand up and say, I would like to do this, but you need to follow through. And that's where you get your reputation from, by having that level of integrity of going, yes, I'll put my hand up, I'll do something, but it's the follow through with that, which is really important.
Yes.
Even if you don't have all the answers, it's important that you approach that earnestly, and again with authenticity, so that the people that you have given a commitment to know that they can rely on you to do things. That will build your reputation more than I'll do this, but I'm just doing it for the limelight. Yeah, that'll also
just doing it to build my resume.
It'll equally erode that reputation that you may have started to build or are building over time. So yes, I always rely on the accountability and the integrity thing as probably. That. But the cornerstone, certainly of my career, I feel I take a lot of pride in saying, if you ask me to do something or I commit to doing something, I will do it, or I'll let you know why that can't follow through.
My good old church days are coming out. Let your yes be yes and your no be no.
That's right. Yeah. I might use that one myself actually.
Just follow
exactly.
through.
That's right.
I think that's really important. And I think another thing I've seen in the eagerness of people starting out in the game is that they overshoot the mark sometimes. They overcompensate and they think, I've got the capacity and the capability to do this.
Yes.
They put their hand up before they're ready. You mentioned before having a mentor. How did you go with that balance of not overstepping the mark ever, but just learning and growing before you put your hand up?
Great question. I think, again, it comes down to authenticity and transparency is another word, I suppose. So you can say, I'm keen to do this, but I don't have all the answers, or I'm not sure in all instances how to approach something. Yeah. And it's okay to ask for help or lean on experience or escalate, but do it early would be my advice again. Don't you can rely on a lot of your experience, but if you're confronted with something that you just don't have the answers for, then that's when you need to call out for help. Yeah. And again, I would say that builds more integrity, more trust, because then they know that you're not just holding on to something, not delivering it and eroding that. So that's equally important. Capacity is an interesting one. Again, I think it's about recognizing where the boundaries are and, again, communicating that openly and consistently so that you have that integrity around that as well.
Yes.
Because we can't all do everything. We all have lives. We all have a lot going on as well. But it's about communicating those boundaries clearly and upfront, I would say, is really important as well.
And often those are smaller FM teams when they're maybe employed locally, not through a conglomerate like a larger facility management company. They're the first to arrive, the last to leave. They're being expected to do everything, and anything under the sun. So that being honest about your limits is really important, I think.
Yes.
If you're going to have longevity in the game, right?
I think when I was leading a in-house team, so with one of the retailers, I looked after an in-house FM team, and again, I was fortunate enough to have people that have been in the industry a long time, or they've been on the tools, at one stage, and they were so committed to delivering outcomes and would work long hours and would almost do anything to sort something out. And that I would start to see people burn out, or I would start to see people not be able to fulfill all of that because there's just so much ask on them all the time. Yeah. And so something that we did at the time was something called a stop, start, continue exercise. So we all got together and we did that, and we kind of listed all our activities out, and we realized that there was a bit of duplication in there. We realized that there were things that we could probably that I could support with as a leader, push back on, or that we could do a little bit more efficiently together. It was it didn't take very long. It was probably a couple of hours, but we all whiteboarded
What a
that
great
together.
exercise.
It was really good, especially in FM, because you're a finite amount of resource.
Yeah.
And you don't know what you don't know sometimes. And so coming together and doing something simple like that is really, really good, especially if you don't necessarily have the breadth or the stretch, within the org or within your own team. It's always good to just take a moment to take stock on that, and look what you've got going on.
I love that, learning. Your career has led you to, I think this role that you're in is a pretty significant role, right? That's for someone to have worked their way up into.
Yes,
and you get some pretty cool opportunities. So you've just recently come back from Europe.
I did, yeah.
And you got to do a whole tour of looking at the way banking facilities operate over there.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Yes. First of all, feel extremely humbled and fortunate to be able to do a visit like that. And I'm really looking forward to kind of debriefing with my team. But
I'd feel really humbled if my boss sent me to you.
Just shout out
to see the way flooring companies work over there.
We'll take note of that. Yes. I suppose it was kind of part of my development plan, I suppose. A lot of my experience has been Asia-Pacific kind of focus, and the discussion I was kind of having was the company I work for has a very large presence within Europe, and a lot of our banking customers are based there. And so from purely best practice and learning and connection perspective, being able to go over there and make connections with all of those teams and with customers and see operations and practice was invaluable.
Yeah.
So then I can bring that back and make sure that we're aligning where it makes sense, and then we're also sharing our best practice. I would say that there are things that we're probably doing a little bit better domestically here. Australia is quite a mature market in a lot of respects. And, and so, but yeah, being able to make those connections as well, to be able to have my team now connecting with them globally is invaluable. Yeah. So yeah, it was a bit of a whirlwind trip, but definitely worthwhile putting in the hours to do that.
Was there anything that you thought, oh, gee, they're leaps and bounds ahead of us over here in Australia?
Let me think. I think it was interesting to see the consistency of expectation with all of the banks as well. Banks are inherently conservative organisations and risk averse and very, very commercially focused. So I think that was important. I think there's a lot of rhetoric in the industry at the moment around AI and data and things like that. It's very inconsistent, the use. Some are playing with it. Some are just doing things like Copilot. Some are doing actually deep dives and using it actively to do things like occupancy management, for example. But it doesn't seem like anyone's got a one-shoe-fits-all. So, but what I would say is it's important to be curious around that. And also, this isn't probably new, but what was quite impressive was the way that the teams were able to use and interrogate data to provide insights and make decisions more efficiently. And I think if FM teams here aren't comfortable with their data and comfortable where they can get access to that or work with it, it's really important that they dedicate some time to do that, because especially in a large work order volume business or customer, you need to be able to churn through that. Otherwise, you'll get lost in the noise. So that was actually quite impressive, the way that I would say that they were doing that quite consistently across all the teams. But I think it's actually part of the culture that we've got within the organisation that I'm with as well. So, but definitely a reflection there.
What about if the shoe was on the other foot? What are we leaps and bounds over here in Australia when it comes to facilities?
So I'm quite proud of the relationship that we've established with the corporate real estate provider for the organisation that I support. So the model is quite common in Europe, where there are large property management firms, CRE firms that do they kind of do a best in breed, they call it. And so they might do the FM component with one organisation, and they do the leasing transactions with another organisation. And some within the Australian market, I think that that's not as commonplace. And it's can be a bit of concern, perhaps, that's been expressed around how that relationship might work. But we've been able to establish a very, very positive rapport and working relationship in the way that the team is set up. And I think that that's we're actually doing quite well. So I was able to kind of share a little bit over there as well. So, but yeah, I'm not saying that that's necessarily a pattern across the whole industry, but it was just one of my observations that I kind of made independently.
Wow. Your career's a large portfolio, a large role. I can imagine it's quite demanding and exhausting.
Oh, okay. It's important you look after yourself as well.
Yes. I know that you do a lot of other stuff outside of work. You are invested in giving back to your community, and you're chairperson at Minus 18, for example, which is an amazing organisation. How do you find the time?
I think that there's that old saying that you make time for things that are important.
Yes.
I won't hide behind the fact that I've sometimes found it difficult to balance everything in my life as well. and I've been trying to focus a little bit more on myself as well, to be honest, with looking after my own health and well-being, because with where you've got demanding roles like that, it's really important that you practice self-care, or you practice things that, fill your cup up as well. Minus 18 is a wonderful organisation that I'm so proud to be the chair of, and having that does fill my cup up as well. Being able to work within the community and see all the wonderful work that team does, and I contribute in a very small part, but just seeing all that work that we do with LGBTQIA plus youth to improve their lives and empower them is so rewarding.
Yes.
And so if you do, my recommendation is that you get involved in your community or in something that you give back, because it will lead to you having your cup filled up, I would say. Yeah, I think that you probably had a similar experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is fascinating how giving extra of yourself is actually rewarding.
Yes.
In a very different way to what your 9 to 5 is. Your 9 to 5 is rewarding and fills some boxes, but it also...
It's not everything about you, though.
Yes.
That's
and
important
it's also
to recognise.
exhausting, whereas sometimes that giving back in something that you're really passionate about isn't exhausting at all. It's energizing.
Yes, but going back to what we were kind of talking about before, and to maybe answer your question a bit more specifically, is the knowing when to say no, or knowing when to ask for help as well. There are times when all those demands build up, and then you need to talk to your stakeholders, your team, and let them know where you're at, so then they can calibrate as well. So again, it's about that open communication and honesty and integrity. So for example, if I have a really demanding week at my day job, I make sure that I let the team at the charity know, so we can work within that. So so we're all clear then, and that kind of helps as well manage those competing demands sometimes as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not saying we've got it perfect, but
I don't think anyone ever does.
It's a balancing
there's
act.
There's always going to be, when you're juggling lots of balls, there's always going to be one that drops.
That's right. And take your leave as well. Take your leave.
Well, I think employers want you to take your leave, because you're a liability to them.
Absolutely, there's a bit of financial give and take there too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Minus 18 is something you're passionate about.
Yes.
The LGBT community as a whole is something you're passionate about.
Yes.
2 gay men sitting at a table.
I know.
All the other straight guys and that host the podcast.
It's nice to come out together.
Yeah, they're like,
Aaron.
no, we can't handle 2 gay guys at a table.
We have no rainbows in the room. This is disappointing.
No, it's a very, very lack of colour in this room.
Neutral. It is.
But You've been a big part of the FMA. I think nearly every guest we have on here, and we were talking about just before we hit record, was it's hard to be in facilities in Australia and not be somewhat attached to the FMA, because they do such good work. But you were a big part of their DEI committee and shaping what that looks like. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, I did that for a few years in my previous role. I decided to give that up because of time commitments.
Knowing when to say no.
It was really interesting, because we were looking at a lot of intersectionality, which I found really interesting. I think that sometimes you could probably get a bit siloed around what DE&I might look like, but what I really liked about the FMA was that there was a lot of passionate people that were on that committee, and a lot of discussion around how we could provide intersectional work. So we were doing things like neurodiversity at a time. We've written a best practice guide for FMs that's available through the FMA on neurodiversity, which is really interesting, and did a lot of work on LGBTQIA+. We were starting to do a little bit on First Nations too. But what I really liked about that, again, was the variety of that, and learning more about different perspectives as well. Whilst you can leverage your own lived experience in a lot of ways, it's not always the right thing. So it also empowers you to be an active listener.
Yeah.
Listen to someone else's lived experience and their intersectionality and what they're going through. And I think, again, that just enriches the industry so much. I'm so glad that the FMA have got that committee as well. I think Mark and Janine are still leading it from memory, who are great, wonderful people doing lots of great work as well. I just think that needs to continue with strength to strength. You know, when we talk about FM in general, there's so many diverse backgrounds, and I have my own story, but you talk to lots of FMs and they fall into this industry. And so having DE&I at the front of our industry group is really important, because then, it's a welcoming environment, and you can all be yourselves and express yourselves, and what a great profession industry to be a part of.
And I think it gets confused a lot of the time, doesn't it? Like, people who don't understand the DEI or the heart of what DE&I is all about will come in from angles where it's not about that at the heart of it. What you're saying now is the heart of it is people knowing that they're welcome and that they are safe in these environments. It's not about just hiring someone because they tick a box or we're meeting a quota. Because I don't want someone to hire me because I'm gay.
No,
I want to earn my place at the table. But I want to make sure that I feel safe being at the table. And
absolutely.
I guess that's what is that how you would define the DE&I?
I think it's good because it's mature, and I've spoken about this a little bit in forums before, where it's important not to be tokenistic, right? So there have been organisations, or you've seen it in the community, where an organisation just puts a rainbow flag up at the door and says, "Yep, we're inclusive."
Rainbow washing.
And they haven't
it's
done
the month for it as well.
Pride Month. Happy Pride Month. Correct. But turning your logo rainbow and things like that, but not actually having the fundamental policy work or the education to support that is just not authentic, and is tokenistic. And I think the FMA has led with authenticity, and it's been around education. It's been around having conversations and being authentic, not just putting a rainbow or putting some First Nations artwork up and not telling the story behind that. So I think that's probably important as well. In that sense.
It's more than a policy in a filing cabinet. It's more than a poster on the wall. It's making sure that we're acting out those policies to make our environment safe.
Because you put, certainly in my lived experience, I put so much effort early in my career to try to hide something about myself, and didn't feel confident talking about it, or the fact that I had a husband, or that I identified within this community. And it was so much effort just to kind of think about how I was presenting myself. And, fortunately, through years of experience and being part of these kind of programs, you don't have that effort that you spend. So again, then you're able to just be yourself. And
absolutely.
Spend that effort on something else.
I often tell people it's like the trauma of having to come out once is a huge thing, but oftentimes people are doing it every day. When they're coming to work, going to different meetings, and I do meeting clients in the facility space and in high end places. I walk in and I say, I don't know if I can be as flamboyant as I normally am with this person. So I'll put on my straight voice when I go in. Hey, mate, how are you? And we'll interact. But that's just because I just feel that that's not a safe environment. But I think seeing someone like you who's been able to build such an amazing career in the space. But for people out there who are like us 30 years ago. You didn't have someone like you probably in positions like you right now.
No, you're very right. I would say, and so certainly I feel very fortunate to be in a position where I have a bit of a voice within the industry to talk about that. And so again, I would encourage anyone who has a bit of a platform to use that for a positive outcome, because you never know who's kind of watching, or who you may change someone's outlook or perspective on something, and that could change their whole outlook on life, and you may never know that, but it's important that you use that platform, I think, to be able to do that for positivity.
So you've been in the FM industry for a long time now.
Mm-hmm.
Long time.
I'll write my age on a post-it note later.
Later. You will have seen trends come and go. I mean, in facilities and the way things are styled and the tech that we're using. I mean, I know a company the other day was telling me that they've swapped between using Microsoft and Google 3 times in her her time being with the company. It's
Oh my
just like
gosh! Okay.
a new IT person comes in, he's like, "This is the best way to do it."
Right? Yeah.
So,
oh my gosh!
And it's just funny how trends come and go. What have you seen sort of come and go, like in your time, that you've seen is significant? And is there stuff that's like here to stay?
Sure. Yeah. Maybe start with things that kind of come and go. I think what's been really interesting, say, over the last 15 years, I would say, is the shift from the facilities team as a person in the back plant room with a spanner in their pocket, and they run around and they fix your doors and paint your walls and stuff like that. And it's very maintenance led.
Well, the first meeting my boss took me to when I worked for Premrest was we went to go and meet these 2 facility managers, and we walked into the loading dock, down around this corner, next to the skips. It stank. And they had a little office the size of like 2 by 3.
Oh my gosh! Yeah,
for the 2 of them, and I was like, "Oh no, these can't be the people I'm working with. I don't feel safe."
Yes. Yeah. Oh gosh.
Yes.
Yeah. And the terrible smell as well.
Yeah, it was horrible.
How can it be effective? You know.
Yeah.
But you know, I would say that that's where a lot of businesses were at in terms of going, well, it's a maintenance team, and so that's been a big shift, which I think's been very.
They're now
fortunate.
on the floor, right?
Yeah, and you're hiring different as well. So I think it's very diverse in terms of the talent that you now get for FMs too, because you don't necessarily need to be technically skilled, but it's important that you are curious, you can interrogate a problem, you can talk to your experts and deliver the best decision, I would say, and have great customer service and resilience. I think those are now more important as opposed to, I know how an air conditioning unit works. Certainly technical is useful to kind of know so you can communicate effectively, I would say, but it's not necessarily the fundamental.
You need the basic understandings of most things you're working with.
Yeah, at a high level, but you don't need to be the expert as well. And so I think there's that. So I think that's been a trend that is continuing to change over time, and I think that will probably continue to shift a little bit more in terms of, like I said before, the data analytics and the comfort with data and being able to work with that and, use these AI models, be curious with that over time and being able to leverage that to make you more efficient because you're in a finite resource. Yeah. So I think there's that.
So you're sort of saying the trend went from being in a little shoebox in the basement behind the scenes, managing maintenance, came sort of front of house, very customer service, people focused.
Yep.
And I have seen lots of workplace experience managers is the new title for the facility manager almost.
Yes. Yeah.
And you're saying there's sort of this trend now where it's coming back. Maybe you'll have teams that are sort of half-half, that there's someone behind a computer managing the data. They might not need to be people-facing or customer service-centric because they might not have those skills, but they've got to have data skills.
Yeah.
But there'll always be a room for the person who's people-facing as well.
Yes.
It's hybrid teams.
Absolutely. And especially when you're working, looking after large workplaces with hundreds of people as well, or even any kind of customer, you need to have that service to be able to go, yes, I'm aware of that. I'm dealing with that. And so I think that's going to be a continuing trend around the kind of skill set that we look for FMs, I would say.
Fascinating.
And then the something that's always going to be here to stay will be sustainability. And so certainly I'd probably call it a linchpin in terms of getting visibility of the FM team is sustainability. It's somewhere where FM teams can make a real difference to an organisation in terms of their credentials and commercially as well. So if you're looking at things from a sustainability lens, that will drive a better commercial outcome. Typically, the technology is better. You're able to provide something that doesn't need as much maintenance, for example. It's easy to maintain.
Yes.
It's delivering lower CO2 emissions. It's contributing to the net zero targets or whatever you may have
Yep.
in your organisation too. So that I feel will always be a linchpin and almost like a superpower, I would say, for an FM or an FM team to rely on around their importance strategically with an organisation.
It's definitely a superpower. Our sales team at Premrest,
Yes.
if they're speaking to a facility manager and they're talking about, oh, we would love to come in and look at your floors and
Yes.
see how you're going with maintaining them, keeping them clean. Facility managers have so many other balls they're juggling. They're like, I don't care about that.
Yeah.
And then our guys say something like, we'd love to know if you're using steam cleaning on your carpets
Yes.
or low moisture,
Yes.
because the impact you can have and the results that you could provide and through a report to your upline will be significant.
Definitely.
It's water saving, energy saving, and the light bulb goes on, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we can make some time for you to come in."
Yeah.
So it is that sustainability piece is
Yes.
a superpower, but again, it has to be authentic.
Yes, yeah.
There's so
Not
many
the
players
greenwashing,
out there.
the
Yeah, the
greenwashing element.
greenwashing
Yeah.
is so bad.
I mean, cleaning is interesting in itself because there's so much out there now with regards to chemicals and sustainability and that whole story, the amount of water used, like you said, with steam cleaning and things, down to the replacement element as well. You know, you install carpet and you presume that you're going to get a 15, 20-year life.
Well, it's warranted for 15 years.
Yeah. And I need to check that actually. No,
it is.
that's
Mostly if you're going with the good guys.
Yes, yeah.
Not the good guys, but
that's right.
the good ones.
But, you know, that and keep your paperwork. That's right.
Yes,
so
that's important.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And making sure that you're keeping that maintenance up in the right regime, to your point, so that it does have that whole lifespan.
And look, there is a place for steam cleaning. Don't get me wrong. We do see steam cleaning sometimes. There is an important need for it sometimes, but if you're maintaining it regularly, there's hope that you won't ever need to.
Yes, yeah.
So I think that whole water usage piece and the sustainability
Absolutely.
is so important.
Yeah, but have the conversation with your providers, you know, if you're
Yeah.
using third-party providers to do this stuff and what are they seeing and leveraging that as well. Like I said before, you don't have to be the expert in everything, but you have to be curious.
Yes,
that's really important.
That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, my pleasure.
This has been a hoot.
Oh, good. Yeah, likewise.
I loved
yeah,
it.
thank you.
If people are wanting to follow you,
yes.
how do they do that?
I am a real LinkedIn champion. I
You
love
are. You
my
post
LinkedIn.
daily.
Yes. And so if anyone wants to connect with me on there or send me a message, very open to that. So just look me up, Charles Hammersla, on LinkedIn, and
Love it.
you'll be able to
Hammersla?
find me. Yes.
I said Hammersla at the start. I'm
That's
so
okay.
sorry.
No worries.
It's a very gay name.
I-
Hammersla.
I've never thought of that as well. Yeah, I think that might be another LinkedIn post.
You're welcome.